So the conclusions that I've come to are wrong. The things that I'm going to say right now are incorrect. Like an audience that believes that the impossible has occurred when watching a magic trick, because that is the intent. So I'm wrong. My conclusions are inaccurate at this time. So the plastic newspaper boxes, one of the plastic newspaper boxes that I was using to support this structure that I built out of cardboard, it was pulled out from underneath the structure and then fastened with a chain. Now I gave it a good long wait because so much of my values have to do with communication and expressing and verifying sentience or consciousness. And so much of everyone else's values have to do with hiding. So we're sort of, right now I'm looking at body language that looks like it's expressing a frustration with my insistence on valuing consciousness in the midst of an environment that obviously is telling me not to value consciousness or sentience. In fact, my environment is so thoroughly aggressive in its communication that I should not be valuing consciousness or sentience, that my own ability to anticipate and expect from my environment is manifesting as a hallucination. And I heard about 45 seconds ago, I heard, "What is he talking about?" As if somebody was walking by and was listening to me speak and was aggressively disapproving of what I was saying, but actually nobody said that. It was just a hallucination. So my conclusions are wrong. For example, this guy right here isn't about me. His actions don't have anything to do with me, although I believe that they do. My conclusions are inaccurate. Like an audience watching a magic trick, he is not coming aggressively in my direction. It just looks exactly like that. But that's the thing about the inaccurate conclusions of so-called schizophrenics or so-called paranoid schizophrenics. The conclusions that they come to are wrong, but for a reason. Like the reason why the conclusions of an audience that are watching a magic trick, when an audience are watching a magic trick, they come to the conclusion that they have seen something that is impossible occur. That is a wrong conclusion. So let's revisit the idea that your entire reality is not designed for everyone to be carrying around a recording device at all times. How much of your reality is foundationed upon evidence and the lack of evidence? Specifically, how much of your how much of your social reality, or this social reality, or our social reality, or your social reality, is foundationed upon the lack of evidence? It's how important is it that the bodies say, "I don't believe you"? And how often does anyone even tell a story anymore? And in how they tell the story are hoping to be believed. Nobody says, "I experienced something unbelievable, and now I'm going to tell you the story of what happened that's so unbelievable. And I'm hoping that the way that I tell the story and our past experience together is evidence that I'm a trustworthy person for you to believe the story. So please believe me." Nobody says that anymore. They just say, "Watch the video." Do you know what happens when I show people videos of unbelievable things that I've experienced? The personality in the person stops being convincing. That is to say, in the priority list of whether or not I am disbelieved or they are believable, the priority is that I am disbelieved. It's almost like reality is made out of, here are the four fundamental forces of that science state are at the basis of reality. So weak force, strong force, gravity, and electromagnetism. But it seems like reality is made out of weak force, strong force, gravity, electromagnetism, and me feeling like I'm all alone. For example, to my right, someone is saying he is very well-rounded, and then another person responding, "No, he is. See this guy right here? This guy's on the phone. You see this guy right here? Wait, where is it? This guy right here? This guy is now talking with this guy. It sounds like they're talking about me, but they're not. It just sounds like they are. So supposedly there's a thing called a paranoid schizophrenic. Now, a paranoid schizophrenic is a thing that used to exist back before everyone had a recording device on them. So this guy looks like he's laughing at what I'm saying. But it isn't that he's laughing at what I'm saying. It just looks exactly like he's laughing at what I'm saying. It's this, it looks exactly like situation that defines the paranoid schizophrenic. Because it isn't the way that the paranoid schizophrenic thinks it is. The paranoid schizophrenic thinks it's a certain way, that reality is thus. But it isn't thus. It just looks exactly like thus. That's why I started this recording saying that my conclusions are wrong. The conclusions that I've come to are wrong. Like an audience that have watched a magic trick and have come to inaccurate conclusions. So the plastic box that I was using as a basis of this privacy box, the foundation was pulled out, and then it was secured to this other box. I don't know if you can hear this, but I'm hallucinating that this female right here is saying over and over again, "I like you, I like you." I don't know if you're getting that on the recording or not. So one time I saw a protest across the street from the Plaza Hotel. By the way, the faces are sort of reactionary to what I'm saying, mostly in expressions of superiority or smugness. I remember when I was in LA and everyone had the same smug expression. It was like I entered the smug dimension. It's like I caught on fire. It's like I'm okay. I don't know if you heard that on the recording. A female that was walking by, specifically designed to my aesthetic. My aesthetic. And I don't know. There's a word for it, like tastes, but not tastes. Aesthetic preferences. Ugh. So I recorded this protest that occurred outside the Plaza Hotel, and I recorded a flag. It's like a dove holding a fig leaf flag that were protesting across the street from the Milford Plaza. And I've uploaded it. I have it on my Instagram. One second. It's so strange for me to consider that sanity is just a matter of what's the word? Format. It doesn't matter what you say; it's how you say it. That's such a. You know, when you hear that the first time, you're excited, right? It's not what you say; it's how you say it. You're like, okay. Maybe I can figure out how to say something so that I can be understood. You don't realize that it's an insult to all of your values. You don't realize that when people were calling you crazy, that you were thinking that there was something wrong with you, but there wasn't anything wrong with you. There was something wrong with your format. You don't think about it. You just get excited about the prospect of being understood. I mean, so what? You were raised on science fiction and stories where overcoming communication difficulties were the premise. So what? You have a religion where the book has tremendous examples of translation, where translation and understanding are a huge part of the premise of the story. None of that matters. What matters is that it's not what you say, it's how you say it. So you put all these decades into figuring out how to speak differently, how to communicate differently. So you can go online and you can look up the YouTube video of the flag with the dove on it. I didn't think I was recording anything magical. It wasn't like I was trying to record something in order to prove that I was experiencing some sort of aggression from my environment, the way that I sort of am doing right now. I remember the first time a psychiatrist tried to convince me that I was paranoid. I was like, excuse me person, trying to convince me that I'm not paranoid. Explain to me why there's such a thing as skin if the environment isn't inherently aggressive. I'm sorry, are you used to speaking to... Why is there such a thing as skin, and why do we wear clothes if the environment isn't inherently aggressive? How come we're growing old every moment of every moment? How come everything about us is defending ourselves from our environment if our environment is not inherently aggressive? The poor psychologist or psychiatrist didn't know what to say to me. So in the recording that I uploaded to Instagram of the flag, it had sound. Yeah, this person isn't aggressively staring at me. It just looks exactly like they're aggressively staring at me. That's the basis of the paranoid schizophrenic experience, is that the environment can pretend to not be one thing. The environment can pretend to be multiple people. And in pretending to be multiple people, it can be defended in its aggression. Because as long as the environment is multiple people, the environment can say, "What do you mean I'm being overly aggressive towards you? I'm multiple people." And it sort of works together. And it works together in a mechanical synchronicity. So that once you're isolated, and expressing your isolation, the environment sort of reacts and continues your isolation. Because when you think about it, aren't all of your achievements in hiding? Like everything about you is hiding you, isn't it? As individuals. So one day I was thinking about my Instagram, and I was wondering if my Instagram was valuable. I was wondering if my Instagram looked like the Instagram of someone who was working. So I was looking over all of the images in my Instagram from the perspective of worth, of value to the economic thing. So I'm looking at, picture after video after picture after video, and I click on this video of a flag waving. You can look it up yourself if you exist. So I'm looking at this video of a flag waving, and I'm listening to the sound. And the flag is waving, and the bird on the flag, when the flag waves, the bird blinks on the flag. Because the flap, the wrinkle, or the vril of the flag. You don't like that word? When I said vril, a blonde, blue-eyed person looked at me like I wasn't supposed to know what a vril is. A frill, like a frill. Frills, like the collars from Renaissance, pre and post Renaissance. Like the potato chips with the frills in them. So as the flag is flapping in the wind, the bird that's on the flag looks like it's blinking, and I wouldn't have noticed this effect. It's just that when the bird on the flag blinks, a bird in real life in the recording is saying words in English. And the bird is saying in English, "This isn't fake. This is amazing. That isn't a chubby, short Jerry Seinfeld wearing a mask. It isn't. It just looks exactly like a chubby short Jerry Seinfeld wearing a mask. Like I said at the beginning of this video, the conclusions that I come to are wrong. Like an audience that have watched a magic trick and believe they have seen something that is impossible. But that's the point. One does not say that an audience are wrong when they believe that they've seen something impossible. Yet, one does say to a so-called paranoid schizophrenic that they are wrong when they describe what is called a gang stalking scenario. But let me explain something to you. There is no conspiracy. There's no conspiracy because there's no reality. If you were to grab one of your supposed gang stalkers, if you were to drug them and electrocute them, they would not be able to give up any secrets because there aren't any secrets. There's just your infatuation with your victimhood. The reason why you're infatuated with victimhood is because you're hoping to utilize the resources of the authoritative structures in your environment. It's just so much more efficient to throw one's self into a position of victimhood. Hey, I remember that dumb fuck. It's the same dumb fuck from a week ago when I was biking the so-called wrong way down the street, and this dumb fuck decided to be an expression of God's perfection and come directly at me. Now, we all know as Christians who believe in Jesus Christ that we should not be interacting with God's unflinching gracelessness, because God is perfection and He's never changing. So He hates all that is imperfection. But for God so loved the world that He gave His only begotten Son. Oh no, now he's running away. For God so loved the world that He gave His only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth in Him shall not perish, but have everlasting life. So why did He run away? Why was He there? Why was He going? I wouldn't have even... I looked at Him several times, and I did not want to think that He was the same person that I saw. So I didn't recognize Him, because recognizing Him would have been unpleasant. But He rang his bike several times at me specifically. So I had to recognize that it was the same dumb fuck that was confrontational with me when I was biking down the so-called wrong side of the street. Now, the question is, what are we going to do in this future where everyone is carrying a recording device on them at all times? So when I show you the video on Instagram of a flag flapping in the breeze, and I increase the volume of the bird that's chirping saying this isn't fake, this is amazing, what happens? Since you're not being asked to believe anything, and you can't say, I don't believe you, because there's nothing, no one's asking you to believe anything. You know, it's so funny. I'm imagining an incredibly stressful scenario. Just unbelievably stressful. That's what I'm thinking of, and I'm speaking about it. If one of the only ways that I'm actually able to deal with this incredibly stressful situation is by not actually believing it. Even as I experience it, I don't believe it. And one of the things that helps me to not believe it is just so many people that are willing to also not believe it with me. But when I'm going through it, when I'm experiencing it, even as I don't believe it, I don't have to believe it. And I'm speaking loudly and I'm hurting myself with my speech. My throat hurts because of the way that I'm speaking. So what happens when I show you the Instagram video of the flag flapping and the bird in real life making the sounds of English words in time with the blinking of the bird on the flag? They're looking for weakness so that they can attack weakness they're looking for. You know, I'm so disgusted with the idea that you are aggressive towards weakness that sometimes I show weakness and sometimes I show strength, and then show weakness and then show strength, because I'm going to shake the baby until the baby stops crying. Sometimes you tell me that I talk too much. Sometimes you say that I dog. You dog. You talk too much. And for a long time I felt bad about talking too much. And then I realized, because I felt bad for so long, that we broke it. You broke it. I would have felt bad in a delusion. But you made me feel so bad for so long that I couldn't sustain the stupidity of guilt. And then I realized, oh yeah, I'm a Puerto Rican from New York in the United States of America. If it was your intention for me to not speak more than I needed to speak, I wouldn't have been born a Puerto Rican from New York in the United States of America in 2020. 1, 2, 3, 4. Of course I'm going to speak too much. The idea that I'm supposed to neuro-linguistically control you by saying the right thing at the right time disgusts my values of free will. You're supposed to be people. You're supposed to come to your own conclusions, make decisions based on your own values, and agree or disagree with me based on, ideally, whether or not what I'm saying is worthy of being agreed with. Unfortunately, we now think of the word worthy as meaning white. The word worthy means white. Just like the word fair means light-skinned. That's not fair. Skinned. So what do we do now? Is there time to start a plebe, not a plebe, what's it called, those people that are anti-technology? Luddite. Is there enough time to start a movement of being Luddites? And walking back all of the technological advancements that empower each individual, because the empowerment of the individual has surpassed the environment's ability to acknowledge the empowered individual, hasn't it? Because when I show you the video of the flag flapping And the bird chirping, what do you do? Do you disbelieve me? Do you think I edited the video so that I made the words, "This isn't fake, this is amazing," and then you believe that I put it through an audio manipulation device and then uploaded the video so that it looks like there's a bird chirping in time with the flight? Do you believe that I did work and that I'm capable of producing something and disbelieve the content of the video? Do you believe that a bird, while a flag was flapping, I'm supposed to stare at you and verify that what I'm saying is accurate? Stary. So weird. I was watching a YouTube video of a Saturday Night Live fake news host. I think his name is Seth something. And he was staring at the camera and his eyes were like Svengali eyes, like hypnotic eyes. It was so weird. He looked like from the nose up he was going, "Ah!" I was like, what is he looking at? He's looking at a camera. He's looking at a camera as if there's a person there. What I'm saying is valid. What I'm saying is valid. No, I'm looking around in my environment. There's so much to look at. I'm thinking. You don't know what that's like, huh? Or do you believe that the bird actually that there was a bird in real life that accidentally, just as a coincidence, was whistling 2 sentences in English saying this isn't fake, this is amazing? Or do you just get increasingly obtuse and act like you don't understand the content of the video that you're watching? World, what were you thinking? When you taught me that paying for love is wrong and that suffering for affection is good, what were you thinking? How was I possibly supposed to navigate a life with those wonkadoo values? There are innocent simpletons straight suiciding themselves on chemicals that make you feel like you're in love, and unprotected sex. There are just simpletons out there who are killing themselves, paying for or taking physical pleasure. And I'm sitting here reading this ancient book of magic, trying to figure out how to torture myself for all eternity using the full force of omnipotence. I'm like, oh, maybe if I look into, I can't read between the lines, it's against the rules, but maybe if I study these rules more, maybe if I don't study them, I don't know, how do I not study or study, not study? Oh. So I combed my hair because I was thinking that nothing that I was saying was valid just because I looked like my hair was disheveled. And now my hair is more, you only care about your due. So there's no gang stalking, there's no conspiracy, because there's no reality. If you were actually able to manage to grab one of your supposed gang stalkers, and if you were actually able to somehow compel them to say the truth, whether they liked it or not, they wouldn't be able to give you any, they wouldn't be able to like reveal any. I mean, it'd be nice if they could, because if there was some sort of organized structure motivated by intellectual consciousnesses, people, then somehow you could reason with it, somehow you could side with it, you could be like, let me join you. But there isn't. There's no conspiracy. As a poor person, my poverty, right? I'm rich though. I'm rich because of what the Lord has done. But if there's anything that poverty is expressing, she was upset because I was about to spit, and then she showed up so that I could spit in her face, and then I waited for her, and then I spit where she wasn't, and then she looked at me like she was upset at me. So it wasn't that she wanted me to spit in her face, it just looked exactly like she wanted me to spit in her face. That's sort of like the basis of the so-called schizophrenic paranoid experience. It's not the way you think it is, it just looks exactly like the way that it just looks exactly like that. I forgot what I was saying. I was so pleased with my performance that one of your female bodies went from where she was standing over there. She moved closer to me and in a more face-to-face way. But since all of my desires is when it comes to interacting with the female form is for her approval, and since nothing disgusts her more than me trying to get her approval, we're sort of at an impasse. Nothing expressed a disgusting level of weakness to the female quite as much as effort in the direction of getting her consent. And that's not true. What I just said is not true. Those are wrong conclusions. Like an audience watching a magic trick that have come to the conclusion that they have seen something that breaks the laws of physics. They believe they've seen something impossible. And those are inaccurate conclusions. So my conclusions are inaccurate. That's the first ballerina I've seen in 6 months. Are you looking for a master? That is not Immortan Joe. It just looks like Immortan Joe. That is not the same guy that we just saw, but faded to a lighter color. It just looks like the same guy that we just saw, faded to a lighter color. That guy is not angry at me. It just looks like that guy is angry at me. That isn't a female version of the guy that we just saw. Etc., etc., etc. I never thought about it this way, but I guess that's why I call it the magic. I call it the magic because I have an understanding of the English language and I am describing things accurately. So why don't I go to a court of law? Why don't I walk down to whatever and make an appointment with whatever authority that would get between me and acting as if the environment is not, like... I want to cry. I feel like crying. If I think about treating the bodies as if they are not Let's go see what that dog is barking at. Oh, it's a Baphomet effect. This is a Baphomet effect. I put so much energy into the line of people in front of me. There's a line because the 21st century is going out of business. And everyone thinks that the store, Century 21, is going out of business. But yeah, that guy did not aggressively walk in my direction. It just looks like he aggressively walked in my direction. Oh, dude, can I video your outfit? Can I get this? Can I see all this cool shit real quick? So can I get this? Okay, so we're gonna break down what we're looking at. So this is a brand called Boy or something, and sometimes they do. He can't handle it. He can't handle it. He was freaking out. They can't handle being seen. Aren't all of your achievements in hiding? I can't hear you. Come speak into the camera. Aren't all your achievements in hiding? There was a Bible verse that I was remembering. Hey, Jubilee Roll. Yeah, I'm living in a shack. Anyway, I was going to look up a Bible verse that says that God is in your hearts and on your tongue. but I don't want to not find it. I don't want the Bible to be different than what I remember it to be. Especially when it's such a specific verse that's really difficult to misremember. Anyway, so I think I've dissipated the aggressive energy that was emitted in my direction by well, there's two things, actually. There was the box being pulled out from under me, and then when I waited to calm down, when I looked outside, there was the homeless outreach people. And what was so... oh my goodness. I just saw someone's face that looked like a cartoon of an animal human face. They have a snout. Ugh. It was like a Looney Tunes wolf in real life. Ugh. But with protrusion. I believe that my face is mostly flat, but like I believe I have a straight line going down, but there's a child that is looking at me like they don't understand what is happening. Lucky them. If they don't know what I'm doing right now, then they're lucky, because it's good for them not to know what computers are, as we've already described. So after I calmed down from the... Would you like to rescue me? I made this sign maybe a week ago. Look, it says... It says, none of this is real as I understand it. What a fun phrase, as I understand it. I got that from 12 Steps. Totally, the idea of from 12 Steps, it totally freaks me out. Like, to believe in a higher power as you understand, God as you understand Him. It's so hilarious because the whole premise of God, right, is that He's beyond your ability to comprehend. But these truth seekers so thoroughly used chemicals and went so far around the world, being alcoholic sailors and doing all kinds of drug use and, like drug business people going around the world. They went on such thorough searches all around the planet, looking for this unknowable God. That 12-step came and said, listen, stop medicating yourself so that you can push yourself beyond your capabilities, looking for this God that you can't find. Just accept a God as you understand Him. I was like, when I heard that, I was like, oh my goodness, what? God as you understand Him? You mean it could be anything I think? I thought I was wrong. I thought I had it wrong, that I was misbehaving, that I was doing something. I thought that I was failing in thinking about God, and that in thinking about God, that it was my failure as in my relationship with God, my failure that was causing my life to not be the way it was. And I was looking for God, and I was scared, and I thought I was a coward, and I didn't have enough courage. So I started medicating so that I could push past my fear. Because one of the things that your environment will tell you, and I don't want to call it the world, and maybe it's the world, maybe it's your environment, maybe it's the people, maybe it's the bodies, I don't know. One of the things that you'll hear as a man is that the reason why you don't have the things you would like to have is because you're a coward. You're not taking enough risks. That's why you don't have the things that you would like to have, because you're not taking enough risks. So you push yourself and you push yourself to take more risks, and you still aren't getting the results that you would like. So you start pushing yourself so much against these risks that you start to fixate on the risks and fixate on taking the risks, and you lose track of everything else because you were putting so much effort into taking risks, so that you might compromise some of your other values in order to take risks. So you might medicate to calm yourself down so that you could do scarier things. That isn't Myra. This is not Myra. Roman. This is not a manifestation of Myra Roman looking at me in disapproval. It just looks exactly like it's a manifestation of Myra Roman looking at me in disapproval. That's the premise of the magic. It isn't what it looks like. It isn't what it is. It's something else. You don't understand. You're wrong. You need to do more. And it isn't that you need to do more. You're still wrong. Now, if I go back into the video, this guy wait, where is he? Yep. If I go back in the video, this guy's going to be in the video. But when this person was looking at me in disapproval, and I addressed to you their appearance, this person showed up to defend this person because this person is female. I just heard the word Myra come from this area. But you know what's strange is that even though this person and this person are the same height and actually the same level of orange, they're both almost the same level of orange, they're not actually together. This person right here is not actually with this person right here. Now they're thinking about getting confrontational with me. Because that's how the stupids are. Because I'm recording them, that supposedly matters. Even though they're being recorded in 100 different ways, they're being recorded 100 different ways. They don't realize that all of the antennas in their environment can quote-unquote see them in 3 dimensions. So that every single camera, every single phone that has an antenna can sense its environment in 3D. And that the accumulated data of the cameras and the antennas can be correlated to create a 3-dimensional visual. But because the stupids are the stupids, the entire point of the stupids being what they are is that they are overly aggressive and not considering of the complexities of their environment. That's the entire premise of the stupids. If they weren't that way, they'd be something else. See, again, it's this character. This character right here, this body, is not aggressively expressing disapproval specifically of me. He is not. It just looks exactly like that. That's just how that person looks all the time. I recognize you. I've seen you before. You're a New Yorker. Excuse me, miss. You're a New Yorker. You live in this city. You've been living in this city for a long time. And in a city this crowded and full of strangers, You don't immediately recognize me and grab a hold of me like an old friend and say, "Oh my goodness, we don't know each other, but I recognize you." And in this city full of aggression and strangers, recognizing you means something to me, the way that I'm doing to you right now. It isn't that our closeness makes us weak, like in the film Hancock with Will Smith and Charlize Theron. It isn't. It just seems, it just looks exactly like that. It's not that the liberal hate that calls itself justice has so thoroughly popularized a dialectic of hatred and aggression that we are now literally breathing invisible fire on one another all the time. It isn't that way. It just seems, it just looks exactly like that. So why don't I go to a court of law and bring my Instagram and say, "Hey, real life isn't real. Here's a video of two flies having sex on a sperm sculpture. Here's a video of a flag with a picture of a bird on it, and the audio of the video is of a bird chirping saying, 'This isn't fake, this is amazing.'" Why don't I take that so-called evidence to a court of law? Well, I'm so glad I asked. The answer is, I don't know why. Since my environment tells me I don't know. But it seems like that I am avoiding destroying the simulation of a court of law. That if I go to the court and I bring the video that verify the unbelievable experiences that I'm experiencing, the drastic difference between what I'm experiencing and what I've been taught to expect, yeah, I just hallucinated. This woman was walking by with a camera pointed at me, saying, "Sir, you're my God." I don't know if it'll show up on the audio. That person's... See, this person is not filming me. It's just that their camera is on. So they're not filming me. It just looks exactly like they're filming. You know, it isn't the way it appears, even though it appears exactly to be that way. You're wrong. I'm wrong. You're wrong. You're wrong. Anyway, so that's 1 hour. I'm sure that this could have been explained in a shorter amount of time. I'm sure that if an editor came and edited this down, they could make it a better format. But then you wouldn't be able to criticize me and hide behind the illusion of disbelief.